beat up on by TCU just 2 weeks ago. And then I feel like the whole slate, like literally the second my game was on, that whole nighttime slate, especially with some of those weather delays, was loaded. Thanks to any of you guys that hung for our Saturday night show. So every single week when I'm calling a game, next week I'll have Louisville. I'm going live from the booth for a half hour after my game. So it was fun. We had a decent little traction there on YouTube and then TikTok as well. But today it's a reaction show. I got thoughts on Clemson. I got thoughts on the recent news of UCLA, not Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Foster and Brent Pry, Virginia Tech. They're out. Those of you guys that have followed my content closely I've been sitting on this take for 4 or 5 months, in that there was for sure going to be a coaching bloodbath this year in college football because last year was so light and a lot of programs, I think, kicked the can. UCLA didn't waste any time. They're not in the kick the can classification, but just what, 1 1/4 season into Deshaun Foster's tenure, he's out. We'll get into that. My thoughts there, because I've been around both programs. I literally visited both programs last year in person. So, I got some thoughts there. One sec. Let me open up this stream. Boom. Nicole, yeah, you can ask questions. I got some prearranged comments over there on YouTube, or prearranged thoughts, but feel free to fire away. But I'm talking Clemson. I'm talking the firings of today. I'm talking Diego Pavia because he's getting slept on over there in the SEC. A lot of people surprised Vandy won that one. I was not. I had them covering. I didn't have the balls to actually have them win. I thought they would cover, though, and it'd be close. Like, we're talking 1 or 2 points. Hopefully you guys took that line. People are giving me crap too, because I gave you guys 15 picks last week. Not every pick's gonna hit. So far, we're in the green, though. I'm 25 and 23 on the year. Last year, I was 124 and 128 and 84. So check out the Friday Night Live where I'll give you guys my picks there. But in addition to Pavia, we're talking Gunnar Stockton. I owe him an apology. He balled out. I thought he played the best football that I've seen him play in terms of running. We knew he could do that, but he came up with some timely throws. All of these things, for those of you guys on TikTok, I got footage over there on YouTube. So YouTube, all these points, I pulled the footage. And then Marcel Reed, I watched A&M LSU last year, but that was my first true Marcel Reed experience. So we'll get into that as well. But yeah, Nicole, I see your questions there. I'll try to roll the chat and the graphics. But Clemson, now they got a 5.4% chance of making the playoff. Leading up to this, it was really the same 2 talking points every damn time for Clemson. 1, they're lagging behind in NIL. And 2, Dabo doesn't use the portal. Well, the first one, they've actually leveled up and invested big time in NIL. And 2, they've started dabbling in the portal. We saw the Purdue transfer make some tackles in that game. But what's crazy, sorry, I'm pausing because I wanted to make sure I had the recap of the game correctly. But what's crazy is, like, this season's been different. I mean, in terms of the teams that had so much expectations going into the season, there was Penn State and there was Clemson. Everyone else was a notch behind it. Yeah, people were excited about LSU. People were excited about Notre Dame, maybe. Not even Oregon per se. You were excited about Texas, obviously, but Clemson was one of those teams. I had him in person last week versus Troy. I thought it was a fluke. I thought it was just an offense playing with anxiety that couldn't get out of their own way. And sure enough, exactly what happened in the LSU game is exactly what happened in the Troy game, is exactly what happened in the Georgia Tech game. And I'm going to pull you guys up some footage right here, because there are 6 straight plays in the third quarter that are the perfect example for what is going wrong with the Clemson offense. Right here. I got footage over there on YouTube. This is 6 straight plays. And in fact, this first play right here is right after Bryant Wesco had that over route for like a 70-yard bomb. Clemson's up 14-13 in this game. The momentum is now on their side. They've weathered the storm from Georgia Tech. And I'm about to show you 6 straight plays of a Clemson player having a missed assignment in a row. If you're over there on TikTok, check out the footage on YouTube. I'll try to show it to you next week. But check this out. First play right here. 1st and 10. Fake the jet sweep. Cade Klubnik gets pressure. You miss a wide open receiver downfield. Check out this tight end. He's going to pop. This right tight end, he's popped. That's open in college football. This receiver, wide open. Cade has pressure. This showed up. And this is where Clemson fans are like, you can't really pinpoint one thing, right? It's Cade's not playing really well. Oh, are we missing Antonio Williams? That's just a convenient talking point. Clemson receivers are just fine. Oh, is Garrett Riley having troubles and whatnot? I do think scenarios like this are where he got out coached, because there were multiple times in this game where you have a free rusher right here on Cade Klubnik. The concept downfield here is perfect. You got receivers open, but you're not protecting your quarterback here. And this is a win by Georgia Tech in that they were able to scheme. Start of this play, I can't tell if this is a backer body on the bottom or a corner body. Looks like a backer body. But right there, this is a defensive coordinator win by Georgia Tech. So right here, you have no one to pick up that player. Concept's good. Protection's not great. That one is on Garrett Riley. But this whole thing is not on Garrett Riley. And maybe you can say, oh, Cade's got to find a way to maneuver this. Oh, you got to get the ball out quicker. Find a way to make this throw, which we'll talk about guys like Gunnar Stockton and Diego Pavia, which they have a knack for always finding a way to get a window and make a throw and make something happen. But right there, again, you have all the momentum on your side, wide-ass open tight end. You can't protect your guy for whatever reason. I don't know the exact protection. Maybe you could have slid it a different way. But that's a win by the Georgia Tech defensive coordinator over Clemson. Boom. That's the first play. Cade gets hit. You'll see from the back view. They slide to the left. Free rusher on the outside. That's a scheme win by the defense. Second play. It's the very next play. You're getting 2nd and 10. As my footage loads. 2nd and 10. They're going to do this. Get Cade's legs involved, toss sweep, easy tackle by the middle linebacker. This is where I don't think it's Garrett Riley's fault. I don't mind this play call. You're washing the whole defensive line down. You like Cade's legs. You're going to wash this whole defensive line down, all 4 of these D linemen. You got a receiver blocking on this linebacker here, or safety, I'm not sure what it is, linebacker. And then you got a corner blocking on this corner. It all comes down to your 2 guys in the backfield, Cade Klubnik and running back, blanking on his name, the big guy, against this middle linebacker. 2 on 1. This is 4th grade football right here. But when we play it and Cade goes down, he's already pitched this football. There's no pressure on this middle linebacker. This middle linebacker is like, thanks, Cade. I'm good to go. I'm just going to go tackle your running back because no one's blocking me. What I would love to have happen is have Cade press this vertical more, press this down the line, force the middle linebacker to come up and cover you. Then you have no one on this running back with 2 blockers out wide, and you're forcing this safety down the field to come and make this tackle. Instead, you don't force the issue. It's like it almost feels like an option. That's an easy tackle. First down didn't work out. Look at, I want Cade going downhill, attack this linebacker, force this linebacker to make a decision. And I think he may have pitched it right away because the end crashes down. Well, if that's the case and that's his rules, then I just think it's a poor design and poor concept there. All right, so then now you missed one on first, missed one on second, 3rd down here, miscommunication. That receiver's open, 3rd down. It's cover 2, meaning these safeties, it might be 2 Tampa. I'll have to watch this again, but these 2 safeties are going wide here. Safety on the bottom has got middle half on the bottom. Safety on the top's got middle half on the top. That's perfect. You're one-on-one with your athletic receiver on a linebacker body. You love that. Cade thinks he's going vertical and attacking this the G in Georgia Tech at the middle of the field. The receiver chops it down right at the sticks. Moral of the story, there's a miscommunication. Someone is wrong here. Either Cade thought he was running another route and he's wrong, or the receiver ran the wrong route. Based on Cade's reaction at the end, he's pointing like, oh, your receiver should have gone upfield, should have gone vertical. So it makes me think that Cade is wrong here, but I don't totally know. Regardless, it's an overthrow and back-to-back-to-back plays. After you have momentum on your side, Clemson's not able to execute, right? And I'll let it go in the back view. But if they're on the same page here and Cade thinks he's chopping it down at the sticks, this is a wide open receiver, and you erase the 2 dud plays to start with, and you're able to find an easy completion right here. Boom. Receiver's wide open. That's wide open at any level of football. Cade thinks he's going vertical, so he throws it vertical. Just a miscommunication. That has nothing to do with talent. That has, I guess, technically maybe something to do with coaching, but I don't put that on Garrett Riley necessarily. That's two players that got to get locked in. All right, here's the fourth play in a row. Those three were 1, 2, 3. All right, defense got to stop. They're back on the field. Again, it's 14-13. You're still in this ball game. Opportunity to take the lead. Here's your fourth play. Defense drops down, gets soft, goes check down, tipped ball in the air. Your initial reaction is like, damn, like that's a good play by the defense. It is a good play by the defense. But if I'm Cade, I would push Cade. The coaching point for Cade here is all right, it's soft there, or the coverage is soft. You got a defensive lineman right in front of you. Step to the side and try to find a window. That's what Drew Brees made an absolute killing on. Step to the left, step to the right. Know that right here, if he knows he's going to the check down, the only concern you have, or the only thing you have to avoid is this defensive tackle. Your offensive lineman's fighting. Instead, he throws it right at the defensive lineman, which again, this is one of those bang plays. You tip your cap to the defensive tackle, but the coaching point in the quarterback meeting room is feel this, slide to your left, right here in this window, and get this completion. Then you're sitting at 2nd and 5, not a batted pass, not have 4 straight dud plays in a row. Instead, you're sitting at second and 10. Here's a 2nd and 10 call. They're going to call a draw. They're going to swing the running back out to the right. They're trying to get numbers. If they have numbers in the box, then Cade will run it. They love going to this with Cade's legs when Cade isn't necessarily playing his best football. I think they like doing this to like get him involved. To me, though, this is a byproduct of, and maybe he was told, hey, Cade, we're going to call this, and we want you to pull the ball down and tuck it and run. So take this criticism with a grain of salt. But when he swings the running back to the outside, this linebacker's not running. This linebacker's not moving. This linebacker's staying attached to the box. And sure, you have 5 blockers for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders, but this safety's low. That's pretty much a 6 defender. I love the optics of throwing this ball to the running back out here. If this linebacker is going to stay tugged, throw this ball to the linebacker out here. If you do that, you have 3 receiver blockers for 3 defensive backs down here in open space with this running back. To me, this is almost maybe you're having trauma from oftentimes you see in college, like this corner quick triggering and blowing up this play. So maybe Cade's not trusting it. Maybe Cade's pre-playing it. Maybe they're coaching Cade to pull it down and run with it when in fact, you know what? This is a pretty good look. Again, this is 1st and 10. I'd love for him to spit that ball out to that running back. Instead, he gets like a nice 6 yards. All right. It looks like, all right, sweet, he's doing something. But if he spits it out to the running back, that's a broken tackle away from being a 20-yard gain. Again, not the end of the world, but in the spirit of you saw the first 3 plays, that's the 4th play after the touchdown where you have all the momentum. Here we go, 5th play. I'll rip through these because we're going along with this. 5th play right here. I must have missed one. But anyways, this is the 3rd down play. Forgot to add the 6th play in there, but this is 3rd down and 5. Got to have it. You got to hitch and drop right there. You can tell how frustrated they are. The point and why I show that is it's not just one factor for Clemson, which would make me even more concerned if I was a Clemson fan. I think there's some coaching elements and scheme elements. I think at times you're looking for your offensive line to dominate more. You saw a drop pass from the receivers. They haven't really been able to get the run game going with the running backs. Cade, it's not necessarily his fault, but then I think there's opportunities to be had with some of these throws, miscommunications. It's really all 11 with this Clemson offense and the reason that they're struggling. And it's 3 straight weeks in a row of something very, very similar in terms of missed opportunities. Tyler, what's up, man? On to some more positive quarterback play. Gunnar Stockton Last week I said he was not a top. I mean, shoot, Saturday night before the game ended, and I hadn't watched the whole game. I said that Gunnar Stockton was not a top 8 quarterback in the SEC. I am wrong on that. I'm not ready to say he's a top 5 quarterback, but I think he's sitting there right at like 6, 7, and 8. And he made some big time throws in that Tennessee game. And I try not to be wrong all the time. I'd like to think it's very few and far between, but I was wrong with that take. Gunnar Stockton showed me something on the road in Knoxville last week. And you'll see the stat line, and you'll see that he threw for what, like 35 times? What did he have? Georgia won 44 to 41. He went 23 for 31, 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Did take 4 sacks, which I'll get into that in terms of a footwork perspective. And then, man, his rushing is very timely. 9 carries, 48 yards. You see the 23 completions, though. Only about 7 of those, 6 to 8, so I'll net out at 7, are true, hey, Gunnar, we're asking you to make a play. We're asking you to really play the quarterback position. Georgia really only asked Gunnar to make about 7 throws in that game. And what I mean by that is all the other completions are bubble screens, are fake the run, bootleg, pop it out on the outside. Only about 7 of those are we're dropping back in the pocket, and we're asking you, 14, to go make a throw for us. And I will show you where I'm impressed with Gunnar's game here. For those of you guys on TikTok, I'm showing footage on YouTube. Here we go. The Gunnar Stockton experience. This right here is what I love. So I'll start with his footwork first. I'll get into the throws. The footwork is the key piece for Gunnar. He has a tendency to drift back, but when he can drift up right here and get those 5 yards, that doesn't look sexy at all. That's a huge part of Gunnar's game because he did take 4 sacks, and I thought a few of those he didn't have to. He could have stepped up in the pocket. And I guarantee the coaching point for him in the meetings is when you feel this outside rush, step up, not only because you can find weapons, but it allows his legs to get involved. And the reason I show you that play is the very next play early on in this game. By him stepping up, he sets himself up for like a 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7 rather than taking a sack. When it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, much more manageable. This is where Gunnar Stockton's great. Check out this footage. This is a gritty quarterback play. He gets blown up. He takes a shot right in the chin, but delivers this dig throw for a first down. If he doesn't step up on 2nd down to get those 5 yards, he's not picking up the first down there. Gritty throw. Check out it from the back view. He gets absolutely popped. And this is Gunnar Stockton ball right here. A lot of guys don't have the stones to hang in this pocket. That's the most painful hit too as a quarterback. When they get up underneath your shoulder pad, shit, that ended my career. But watch this. Boom. Takes that shot, delivers the throw, gets a first down. That throw doesn't happen if he doesn't step up on the previous throw. This example over there on YouTube, this is late in the game. This is late in the game, but this is where he gets in trouble. Has an opportunity to step up. Pretty sure this is 4th quarter, in the 4th quarter here. Has an opportunity to step up, doesn't, gets drilled and misses an opportunity to have a scramble play, which Gunnar Stockton's going to be great when he can scramble. Gets absolutely blown up. Check this out, though. Right here, step up through this pocket, He's got 3 receivers leaking out left to right. If he steps up and expands to the right, I wouldn't be surprised if he finds an open window to throw this touchdown pass. Instead, he's hanging back here 9 yards behind the pocket. That's a dream landing spot for a pass rusher. He allows this pass rusher to get a rush on him, a hit on him, and this is a missed opportunity, right? Back view, step up in the pocket. That's the biggest thing with Gunnar Stockton, stepping up in the pocket to find himself even more throws, and he was still efficient in that game. Instead, it's a missed opportunity. But I will say, I'll end it on a high note because I told you that Gunnar Stockton proved me wrong. He's gritty, he hangs in there, and he flushes things quickly. This is the last drive of the game. I'm going to show you back-to-back plays. They're on the plus side of the field. They're down 8. You got to score. It's on your quarterback. I mentioned, hey, they're only asking him to really make, 7 throws a game that are like true pocket passer, quarterback, make something happen. Right here, and this is where I don't know if they lose scheme-wise or if Gunnar makes the wrong read. But right here, they're going to throw a bubble screen to the bottom of your screen, and I'll take this off so YouTube you can see it. You got 2 receivers in the bottom. He's going to throw it to this bottom receiver on a little now screen. The offensive line is going to leak out to the left, but there's a lot of Tennessee Volunteers. Sorry, you can't see my screen. They're going to throw the bubble screen down here to this lone receiver here. A lot of Tennessee Volunteers. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Volunteers to the boundary, the short side of the field that can get involved in this play. He motions this back to the field. There's a lot of space here. There's a ton of space here. Even if that linebacker's flowing to the field, you got a blocker here for the linebacker. You got a corner who's a mile off. Get this ball to the back. I think this is a missed read. I know this is a missed read or a missed coaching point. This is trying to force the issue by getting this now screen to the bottom of the field. Instead, it's all bottled up. Nothing happens. It's late in the game. I think it was under a minute left. That's a tough scenario. Again, if I play it one more time, watch this running back. Get the ball to the running back. Get the ball to the running back. There's a lot of room. You're for sure picking up that gain. That's about 12 or 15 yards missed. It's a missed read, missed coaching point, missed call, something there with the Georgia offense. I show you that, and this is the props that I'm going to give Gunnar Stockton right here. He flushes it quickly. This is the very next play. It's 4th and 6. Gotta have it. You don't make this throw, Georgia loses the ball game. Tennessee goes home with the win. And on 4th and 6, he's got the stones to throw a downfield vertical shot, puts it right on the money. Touchdown, Bulldogs. That's a hell of a catch, but that's a hell of a ball given the scenario that you just missed an opportunity on the very last play. This is a phenomenal throw by Gunnar Stockton. And that's all Georgia needs from him this season. And he did it consistently throughout this game. About 6 to 7 of these opportunities where it's, hey, Gunnar, we can't support you with the run game. It can't just be bubble screens and kind of little dink and dunk 5-yard overs or 5-yard drags. At times, we're going to have you stick in the pocket, take a hit, deliver a dime, and go get us the win. Gunnar Stockton, I was wrong with my take that you're not a top half of the SEC quarterback. If anything, he's pushing to be a top 5 quarterback in the SEC. Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, well done. Is Dante Moore the real deal? Yes, he is. We were on him in the Heisman conversation for a little while. YouTube, that's the most numbers we've had on a Sunday show, so I appreciate everyone watching. Another quarterback, and this guy might be, if Gunnar Stockton impressed me the most, but man, Marcel Reed is right there. Marcel Reed's right there. And, the Heisman's supposed to be about, hey, the best player in college football. But just as much about being the best player in college football is, can you capitalize on your moments when the entire college football world is watching you and eyes on you? And it's not just necessarily stats, but it's getting it done in big moments. And Marcel Reed this week versus Notre Dame was the perfect example of that. Only 17 for 37, not efficient, but 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have the 1 pick, 0 sacks. Big difference between Marcel Reed and Gunnar Stockton in terms of taking sacks, and also shows through with Texas A&M's play calling. Texas A&M is putting the ball in Marcel Reed's hands to go win him the game, period. Gunnar Stockton, much more insulated by the run game and the playmakers at Georgia. Marcel Reed, that is not the case. Not the case at all. A&M is saying, hey, We got a dude at quarterback. We know he has to grow. We know he has to develop, but we're going to give him the keys to the car, and we're going to live and die by Marcel Reed. And what I would have said a year ago is live or die by Marcel Reed's legs. No, it's his right arm. You can tell they think he has a NFL type of ceiling. And with that fourth quarter drive was Heisman-esque. Is he going to win the Heisman this year? We'll see. We'll see. He's got the ceiling too. But man, for just being a true sophomore, I saw enough in that Notre Dame game to think that, hey, between this year and next year, there's no reason Marcel Reed can't be in the Heisman conversation. And he made some mistakes. It was not perfect. He left a lot of yardage on that field, but he showed me some things with how he showed up in that game. And I got 3 examples right here of plays where I love what I saw from Marcel Reed in terms of the growth. First throw, right here. Third down. 3rd and 8. 3rd and 8 early on in this ball game, on the road at Notre Dame, tough environment. He hangs in the pocket. That's a big league throw now. That's a big league throw. There's a lot of young quarterbacks that would be gun shy, right? You got a backer underneath. Like right here. Look at the optics of this throw. 3rd down early on in the game in South Bend. I'm pretty sure they're down. You got a linebacker buzzing underneath. You got a corner with his eyes on you, meaning that he could jump and trigger on this football right away. You got a safety over the top that with his eyes on you, he could jump and trigger right away. You got another linebacker buzzing on the inside, and Marcel Reed's going to fit this ball in this window, putting it behind his guy, having him go up and get this football where only he can get it. Again, this is a long throw. This is a 10, 20, 25, probably 30-yard on a rope where only his guy can get it. Not a lot of quarterbacks are making that throw. He makes that look easy. That's a great play by that receiver, but he's allowing his dude to go make a play. Second throw right here. In terms of the growth of Marcel Reed, this is 2nd and 9. Look at how he works all the way through his progressions. Works from left to right. I apologize. The footage isn't as good as the other version. This is the best that I can do, given that the game only happened 24 hours ago. Look at him work from left to right. Progressions. Hang in the pocket. He's been hit all day. Hasn't taken a sack. Gets the ball out of his hands. One more time. And side note real quick, KC Concepcion for Texas A&M is a dude. I knew he was legit. ACC folks knew he was legit at NC State. He was their best receiver. KC Concepcion is a baller. And I don't know, I should know his stat line. I know he had a good day. I kid you not, he left probably 150 yards on the field. He was routing fools against Notre Dame. There were multiple times that he's open. And that's where I'm saying Marcel Reed wasn't perfect. He missed some guys. That stat line could have easily been 27 for 37. And hey, this whole take that I'm going down with Marcel Reed could have even more people on board. But I saw enough flashes and enough big-time throws for a young quarterback on the road. But that was a little sidebar of like KC Concepcion is going to be a problem in the SEC this year. And he'll for sure be in NFL draft conversations because like going into this year, it was, oh, is he too small? Texas A&M's moving him all around. Honestly, kind of reminds me of like Tyreek Hill in terms of the skill set. I'm not saying he's going to be, Tyreek Hill during his prime. I'm not saying he's going to be, custom-made NFL receiver one tomorrow. KC Concepcion is a baller, and teams are going to have to start doubling him because they're going to watch this film and be like, yo, my corner can't hang up, can't stand with him. But that was the second throw. 2nd and 9 gets it done right here. This is the throw that I probably should have started with in terms of making this whole argument because it's 3rd and 16, 46 seconds left in the game. You're down 6. You have to score a touchdown. 3rd and 16, terrible scenario to be in as a quarterback. Look at how the young quarterback hangs in the pocket, buys himself some time, manages the rush, and throws a dart on the face mask of KC Concepcion. I'll give you one more wide view here. Look at this. Hangs in the pocket, over coming right to left. Great catch. Great catch. but a phenomenal throw. Look at how accurate this is. Look at how the ball spins off his hands. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. Bang. That's big time quarterback play by Marcel Reed. A&M's fans were excited about Marcel Reed. And again, I know the stat line wasn't perfect. He did miss a lot of opportunities. But in terms of the trajectory that he's on, and I saw Todd Blackledge make this same comment of like, man, it feels like every single drive, I think it was Blackledge, yeah, every single drive that you see Marcel Reed on the field, it feels like he's getting better in front of your eyes. That's very much showing through on the tape. And he's going to have more opportunities to do it September 2017 or September 27th versus Auburn. Big opportunity. October 25th versus LSU. He'll have to duel with Garrett Nussmeier. And then November 28th at Texas, he'll have to duel against Arch Manning. Texas A&M is just interesting because I think they're the most, I don't want to say they're underrated, but we just kind of skip past them, right? There was a whole crop of teams at the top, like LSU, Florida, preseason, LSU, Florida, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma. Then like the sleeper teams were like, all right, people like South Carolina. And then you would like skip over and then talk about, Vanderbilt or, some of these other teams. People haven't been talking about A&M, but I love their weapons out wide. There's a lot to like on this film for Marcel Reed, and they left a lot of offense on the field. I don't even think it was bad defense. I just think they're scheming things up, and then play calling wise, they're giving Marcel Reed the keys to the car and saying, go win us this game. And the reason they're able to do it is because he's not taking sacks. He's not putting the offense in terrible situations. They're staying on schedule, and they're driving the ball down the field. I don't mean to like beat a dead horse here, but I watched so many of these college offenses that it's very dink and dunk. It's very sideline. It's not. A lot of these offenses do not have an intermediate passing game. Texas A&M is not one of them. They're pushing the ball down the field. They're asking their young quarterback to make some throws. Question over there on YouTube, DJ DMD, how do I get access to all 22? I get it through my work. So that was the battle for me for years. I always had to hack it with TV copy footage, but now I get the hookup through my work. Zach, appreciate you, man. Ben, JKS is a baller. I got to be honest, it was 1 a.m. in North Carolina for me this morning. I live in Los Angeles, but this morning I was in North Carolina at 1 a.m. So I had to turn JKS off, but he's a baller. And Cal better be working the boosters to make sure that he comes back. Matthew asks thoughts on Wisconsin real quick. Tough sledding, man. It'll be very interesting. Feels like they're caught in between identities, and you can't do that in college football. If you're going to be a spread team, got to get athletes and be a spread team. If you're going to be a downhill, punch in the mouth, old school Wisconsin team, you got to have the dudes to do that. They don't necessarily have that right now. Last film session before I get into Deshaun Foster and my thoughts on Brent Key before we finish up at the top of the hour. The third SEC quarterback I'll talk about, right? Yeah. I started with Gunnar Stockton. We went to Marcel Reed. These might be the most underrated low-key quarterbacks in college football, or at least certainly the SEC. But I gotta give love to my guy Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia, we are not giving this man enough credit. This dude is a baller, and people are not appreciating how good of a passer he is. See, everyone celebrates like the moxie and the sound bites and the confidence, borderline arrogance. Shoot, it's arrogance at times. Everyone loves the tough runs, the tough blocks of their quarterback getting out there and, getting a block in a reverse, which, if I was Clark Leah, I'd be like, Diego, I love you for trying to block every single reverse, but man, he like puts in his shoulder there, and the quarterback in me is like, dude, stop that. You're too important to your offense. But what's crazy is for all the excitement around Diego Pavia's runs and personality, one of his biggest strengths is being boring. He is a phenomenally boring passer, and it keeps his offense on schedule. And he's literally one of the most efficient quarterbacks as a passer in college football. And we're not giving him enough credit for his ability to pass the football. Last week goes 18 for 25, 2 touchdowns, interception, 1 sack. Rushing, 10 carries for 29 yards. His legs weren't as big of a factor in this game as last week versus Virginia Tech. But the Commodores, 3-0 for the first time since 2017. Diego Pavia leads the SEC in completion percentage when he's kept clean, 80%. I got 3 plays for you to show you we're taking advantage of Diego Pavia, the passer. This dude is good. Similar to Gunnar Stockton. Where am I on this screen? Sorry. Sorry, one sec. We'll go here. All right. 3 plays right here. I want to show you what I love about Diego Pavia. Again, we already know the runs, but we're sleeping on him as a passer. This right here, you'll see this footage on YouTube. This is big time. Right now, I believe it's a tie ball game or Vanderbilt's only up a touchdown. It is third and 18. 3rd and 18 on this play. Virginia Tech, your head coach's livelihood's on the line. You got to come up with a stop. 3rd and 18 is a nightmare for a quarterback. Look at this throw and conversion by Diego Pavia. He's going to hit this dig route on the bottom of the screen. I'll clear my browser right there. Dig route on the bottom of the screen. 20-yard dig route. Absolute dime. Layers it in there. It's this slot receiver right here. It's going to be 20 yards and a dig, moving in or breaking in towards the middle of the field. Right here, when I pause it right here, Diego Pavia has decided to pull the trigger. You can see he's throwing right here. That is a tight window. You have a Will linebacker dropping at the left hash. You got a Sam linebacker with his eyes on Diego Pavia, inside leverage, and Diego's going to beat him with this throw. You got a backside safety who's working his way that direction. Yes, you got another receiver in his way, so he should run him off, but that safety is very much a factor. If you're late at all, it's a kill shot for this safety. And you have a free safety over the top of the dig route. Probably bad field awareness, low-key, by this guy. But still, this is a tight window. This is a tight window in the National Football League. And Diego Pavia pulls this trigger, absolute dime, right in the chest of his receiver. This is getting it done. This is playing quarterback at a high level. It's not just the triple option attack. Right there, that is an absolute dime by Diego Pavia. One of the best throws I saw in college football this week. He makes that look easy. He makes it look like, oh, every guy should be able to throw that ball. Not necessarily the case. Another example right here. He makes this look easy. Roll out left, gets his momentum downfield, delivers a strike right on the face mask, makes that look easy. There's a lot of quarterbacks in college football, a lot of guys in his own conference that we view higher than that have a knack for these types of plays to just not work. And again, like Gunnar Stockton, Vanderbilt's not going to ask Diego Pavia to make 25 throws a game in terms of like true from the pocket, make it happen for us. But they will ask him to make 10 or 12. And Diego does not waste those opportunities. And then this is one where when things aren't perfect and things are messy, can you find a way to make a play for us? And it reminds me a little bit of where Cade Klubnik's at. You know, like at times we mentioned that batted ball. We're like, it just like doesn't work. And it's like, damn, like, you know, why was that incomplete? Why was that pass incompleted? Or just like, why are things not working out? Well, right here, here's an example of Diego finding his check down. It's messy in the pocket. There's defensive linemen all around him. Him and Gunnar Stockton both do a great job of this. But even when it's messy, even when it's not perfect, even when you got a blitzer, get the ball out of your hands, get it in your running back's hands. And this is the difference with Vanderbilt this year. They got athletes. Look at them move around in this pocket. They got some guys that can make you miss. He has a knack for just get the ball out of his hands, out of your hands. Love Diego Pavia is a much better passer than we are giving him credit for. And it's shown up on film, and it's shown up consistently on film, and he just doesn't have negative plays. Doesn't have negative plays, always just finding the completion. And we need to give Diego Pavia more credit as a passer in addition to all the off-field antics has a negative connotation. He's having fun with it, but man, Diego Pavia is the perfect quarterback and the perfect personality for Vanderbilt right now to try to get him over the hump. And Vanderbilt now, last year, they kind of snuck up on people, and it was one of those things of like, oh, wow, Vanderbilt actually can move the football. Vanderbilt's actually doing some things. This year, I still think people might overlook them just because of how loaded the SEC is, but they're not going to sneak up on people per se. They're just not going to be an easy out. You're going to have to go and beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's got an offense. They got a defense that won't beat themselves. You're going to, when you're playing Vandy, you're going to have to go beat them. Not that we're, rather than like in years past, it was like, all right, your talent might just be better than them. You can show up and just beat them kind of regardless. You know what I'm saying? But Vandy, man, don't sleep on them. Can they do this week after week? We'll see. They've done it so far through 3 weeks. Hop in the chat real quick. Vandy mentioned we finally made it, boys. Anchor down. I'll clip out that segment. So AJ, you can send it to your boys. How can Berkeley make the top 25? They might this week, right? Yeah, they should. With a gunslinger like that. Jackson asks. Andrew Dorn. All right, last segment. And then with any remaining time, I'll take your guys' questions. Appreciate all you guys hanging over there on TikTok and then YouTube as well. I will clip out all these segments tonight and tomorrow morning for anyone that wants to rewatch these or share it. I would very much appreciate it. But the big news today, when I was on my airplane from Raleigh, North Carolina to Los Angeles, California, is UCLA has decided to fire Deshaun Foster, and Virginia Tech has decided to fire Brent Key. I've been saying it out loud for the past 6 months. You could tell that a bloodbath was coming in college football coaching, honestly, back in January. It took me a few months to process it. And the reason I say that is last year, very light with the coaching carousel circuit. I believe only one Power Four head coach had turnover, was changed or fired before bowl season last year. The year before, there was a turnover of, I believe, it's either 14, 15, or 16. Fact check me on that exact number. But 14, 15, or 16 coaches that offseason. And it felt like last year there was a lot of programs, Virginia Tech being one of them. UCLA was different because, man, Deshaun Foster was only there for one season and a quarter. But Brent Pry, you know, there were some people saying, hey, they should have made this switch last year. They give him the extra year. I think we're going to see a lot of that in the NIL era. But my point is, a lot of teams last year, I think, kicked the can, wanted to give their coach another shot. I think you see that with Florida as well. Billy Napier. I think, Luke Fickell. We'll see what happens at Wisconsin. Brian Kelly, some people were calling for him. Obviously, he's on a better path. But today, it's UCLA and Deshaun Foster and Virginia Tech with Brent Pry. I've been around both programs. I was in person at UCLA the past 2 years. So I saw Chip Kelly 2 years ago and talked with him. I called Dante Moore's first start, funny enough. And you kind of got a feel for the trajectory UCLA was on in terms of NIL and the transfer portal. And then I called last year Virginia Tech versus Marshall in person and visited with Brent Pry's staff. But obviously, last night, UCLA loses to New Mexico 35-10. Terrible, especially after a bad loss versus UNLV. The switch, no surprise there. Virginia Tech gets beat down by Virginia Tech. Probably doesn't even call them a rival, but Old Dominion definitely calls them a rival. And so you can see some of this coming. And I'm a guy that had to deal with 2 in-season coaching turnovers. When I played at USC, I was there for Lane Kiffin when he got fired about this time, and Ed Orgeron took over. And then I was there for Steve Sarkisian when he got fired, and Clay Helton had to take over. So I'm well versed in the optics of this and why it happens. But I'll start with UCLA. The reality is this is something you could see coming, period, which is always like a hindsight 2020 take. But you could totally see this coming. And I never specifically said that about Deshaun Foster. But what I did say is the second UCLA said they were joining the Big Ten, I said, be careful what you wish for. be careful what you wish for, because in the era of NIL and transfer portal and moving to the Big Ten, there was a very easy scenario where the UCLA football program just couldn't keep up with the programs they were going to in the Big Ten. And they were already on a trajectory in the Pac 12 of not being able to keep up. Because historically, what's been the advantage of UCLA? It's been where they're physically located. Where they're physically located, where by default they would get a good recruiting class. You saw it in the last years of the transfer portal and in the Pac 12, where ASU was coming in and taking that secondary Southern California talent after both Oregon and USC had their pick of the litter. You saw it when I was there towards the end of the 2010s in the University of Washington. They were coming down and poaching the leftover talent from Southern California. And there's enough to have leftover talent once USC gets their pick, once Oregon gets their pick. And then also the trend that was happening is teams from the Big Ten. It's well documented that teams, Ohio State, even Penn State, Michigan, Clemson in the ACC, Alabama, this generation of college football player is much more nationalized. They're much more willing to go away from the nest. UCLA's advantage in the 2000s was like, man, I want my family to see me play. Man, why would I go to the SEC country? Why would I go to Big Ten country? The optics of how 18-year-olds view that now is different, which has worked against UCLA. So you could see this coming for Deshaun Foster and any head coach that they would have hired, and it will still continue to be an issue for whoever ends up replacing Deshaun Foster. Their advantage was where they were located. That was no longer an advantage in today's era. And their disadvantage for UCLA, which will be the biggest concern for whoever they sell this job to and whoever they get moving forward, is the lack of investment from UCLA. I mean, it's beating a dead horse every single time. And honestly, kind of annoys me when the classic tweet the picture of the Rose Bowl and just be like, oh, look how empty it is. All right, that was cool for the first 2 years. We're on year 6 of doing that. So everyone gets the deal. It's very much a factor, very much a problem. Yes, UCLA should build an on-campus stadium, just like Pitt should go back to building an on-campus stadium. What a mistake that was for Pitt. That would have been rocking. But it's not going to happen for UCLA. There's no land in LA. So anyone who says build an on-campus stadium, that sounds great. And it's all right, sweet. I get a bunch of retweets and a bunch of likes. It's not happening. Where they should do it is this over-budgeted light rail concept that goes right through Westwood. I drove past it last week when I was getting an In-N-Out burger with my wife. That's millions of dollars over budget. Might even be $1 billion over budget. Could be wrong there. Anyways, that right there, right next to LA Fitness in Westwood, that's where they should build the on-campus stadium. That would be active. There actually kind of is some land there, but it's not going to happen. The one thing that I would entertain, play your games at SoFi Stadium if you're UCLA. I know there's the pull to the Rose Bowl, and it would be super sad, and all the historians, and you're talking to a guy that, man, I'm still pissed that the Pac-12 doesn't exist. I love West Coast, old school, the tradition there. UCLA, think about playing your games at SoFi Stadium. I think it would be much easier for students to get to. It would be much easier to get the Inglewood area where a good chunk of your recruits are coming from, get their parents to the game. And the reality is, it would be much easier to hide when you only have 15,000 people in the stadium. Fill up the lower bowl of SoFi so your cameras can see that and it looks happening and you're not seeing the upper bowl. It would be really sad to all the UCLA historians, but maybe that's what you need to do to turn the page on what has been a very dull 6 or 7 years for UCLA football. There's been a changing of the guard and a changing of college football world with the transfer portal and NIL. You move to the Big Ten. It's no longer the Pac-12. I would put serious thought to playing your games at SoFi Stadium if I was UCLA. I feel bad for Deshaun Foster, but I think the second we all saw that Big Ten Media Day interview, I think we were all like, ooh, baby. And it's always tough you never want to get on a guy too early, but man, if you're going to be a head coach and have to communicate your vision and go and sell to donors and go and galvanize a locker room and go and talk to moms and dads on the recruiting trail and go have and I know he's a great recruiter, but that press conference, man, you could see it coming. It's just that just doesn't happen for elite head coaches. I mean, you just look at the last name the top 50 coaches in college football, and I don't really know what happened there. And I get you might have a panic attack, and I have empathy for that or whatever that was. I still don't even know what it was. And I think the reason I don't know what it was is because I think everyone felt uncomfortable like reporting on that Big Ten media days. Wonder that we just kind of moved on and tried to cut him some slack, but you just can't cut a head coach some slack. It just doesn't work that way. So that's a long-winded way of saying tough stretch for Deshaun Foster. This is just the beginning for UCLA because that investment piece and where they're at in the Big Ten and the hierarchy there and the Rose Bowl dynamic and just the whole deal, not looking good for UCLA. Very intrigued how they're going to sell the next head coach because you need someone that can come into UCLA and get those boosters excited. So it's not just the Wasserman family as the UCLA's lead booster, and you get all sorts of different boosters, and you get fans to the stadium. A name that like comes to my mind right away is like, would Deion Sanders take that job? For Deion's perspective, and that's just a talking point. But that's what a Power Four job. He doesn't have a Power Four job right now at Colorado, but like I don't want that job if I'm Deion right now. Right now, Colorado is a better job than UCLA. It just is. It just is right now. That could change in a year. That could change in a year. And there's a lot more there. I mean, UCLA and Stanford could both hit rock bottom, and then maybe that's the incentive that has their boosters wake up. But I want to get on to Virginia Tech before we run out of time here. Virginia Tech, Brent Pry, he's gone. I enjoyed my time with Brent Pry. I think he's a really good football coach. I don't think it worked out for him, and a big reason why. And I'm not blaming it all on one guy, but he hitched his wagon to the Kyron Drones trajectory, and that trajectory never came to life. It never came to life. And Drones is not the only issue. I think Virginia Tech's in an awkward spot where NIL wise, they have enough money to be competitive, but you saw it. I mean, everyone's making a huge deal about Mansour Delane, LSU star corner. Where'd they get him from? They got him from Brent Pry's secondary a year ago. That's the type of guy that does he stay if the NIL's in a different spot, if the team's in a different spot. So this is layered for sure. I'll say this. The first time that I had real concern was when I'm blanking on his name right now, but when Virginia Tech's offensive coordinator left this offseason to go to Ohio State and be their offensive line coach. How many times do you hear a coordinator leave their spot at a credible spot at like Virginia Tech and go be an offensive line coach? That's a demotion. Yes, I know you're going and coaching for the defending national titles, national champions. And I know you're coaching for Ryan Day, and he's a great coach. Very rare to hear of a coordinator say, you know what? I'm going to pass on my play calling duties and I'm going to go be a position coach somewhere else. Very rare. And in my opinion, I think he saw the writing on the wall of this staff might get fired. And I don't believe in my signal caller. So I'm going to get out now and go be the offensive line coach at Ohio State. One sec. TikTok's making sure I'm still live and making sure I'm not a robot. And I'm blanking on his name right now. Chat, help me out if you remember it. Gosh, what's that guy's name? But he was great to me. I had 2 Virginia Tech games last year, but I think he saw, hey, Kyron Drones played really well to end 2023. And rightfully so, we gave him a bunch of expectations that Kyron Drones is going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the ACC. And that dude looks like a baller. That dude coming off the bus, 6'4", probably 235, can run. He's got a huge arm. He's got the sick visor. He's rocking #1. He's got the swag. That dude looks phenomenal coming off the bus. But it just has never worked out. He's never developed in the passing game. And you can tell, and I admire the belief that Pry like stuck with him and said, he's my guy. And again, I'm very wary that I don't want it to be Kyron Drones got Brent Pry fired. That's not the case. Brent Pry could have gone a different direction. Brent Pry could have made a different decision. Could have gone with what's his, their backup has that fun name. Pop. Anyways, or at least last year that was his name. But it just, you believed in that hype. Brent Pry had great momentum 2024 offseason. Before that season, it was like so much excitement. I called their game week 3. It was like, yo, Virginia Tech was a lot of people's ACC dark horse. Last year, they lose a close one to Miami. That's an interesting one, too. They lost a close one to Miami, and they lost a close one to Syracuse. I called that Syracuse game. If they win those games, maybe the optics of what this last offseason was different and the energy around the team was different. But I just think they never were able to capture the momentum they had coming off the 2023 season and build that in to something more sustainable. So bummer for Brent Pry and this staff. But Hokie fans, you'll love to hear me say this. As a West Coast guy who I didn't really know much about, like, you know, my early memories in college football was like watching Enter Sandman and like being all juiced up and watching. I'm too young to. It's weird saying that. I'm 30, but I'm too young to remember Mike Vick at in college. But I remember Marcus Vick. I remember Tyrod Taylor, and those were electric environments. My point is, Virginia Tech is a really good head coaching job. Opposite from what I said to you about UCLA. UCLA, I wouldn't want that head coaching job. Virginia Tech is a great job. There's going to be a lot of head coaches that look at Virginia Tech and say, give me that job. Why do I say that? Well, for one, you're in the ACC, which is more gettable than the Big Ten, at least you don't have to come in here and say, hey, I have to totally resurrect all the resources there like you would have to at UCLA. Virginia Tech, that Hokie fan base, electric. They're getting blown out by Old Dominion. They're 0-2 to start the year, and they're still selling out Lane Stadium, which is an electric atmosphere. 70,000 people. A lot of college stadiums that are struggling to get fan bases out there. UCLA is not one of them. Lane Stadium, that fan base, electric. People sleep on the hotbed that is the state of Virginia from a recruiting standpoint, which, hey, UCLA has the hotbed of Southern California. But Virginia is very unique because you'll go Florida, Texas, California, top 3 states for recruits. You'll go Georgia's 4. You'll go Ohio's 5. Virginia is probably 6. Sneaky recruiting hotbed. And Penn State's come down and they've infiltrated. You'll get some schools like Tennessee and whatnot, and some SEC's infiltrating. That's all good, because one thing that Virginia Tech can benefit from is all these Virginia guys that go elsewhere. They go to Ohio State. They go to Penn State. They go to Tennessee. If you miss on them the first time in the transfer portal era, Virginia Tech has the ability to capture some of those guys coming back. And then with all the small schools around the Virginia area, you know, Old Dominion, Marshall, I don't know my Virginia geography as well. I just know this exists. For all the studs that are there, and they've been doing this as of late, you can poach the top receiver from Old Dominion. You can poach the top receiver from Marshall. And I'm sure as I say that, Hokie fans are like, Max, there's 3 other schools right there. Sweet. Go get them. Virginia Tech is a really good head coaching job. And I think there's no reason, and I can say this about North Carolina, but Virginia Tech has more football tradition. You go Miami, Florida State, and Clemson are in that tier 1. Right now, it's probably Miami and Clemson. But there's no reason Virginia Tech can't be right in that second tier with Florida State. I think, you know, Georgia Tech might have something to say about that, but you get my point. Virginia Tech is a really good head coaching job. Fascinated to see who they ultimately end up getting. They should not have problem with candidates. I think that's a job that a lot of people would want. That's 5:30. I'll hang on for a little bit longer for any questions. I appreciate everyone hanging out. That was a fun show. Action packed with X's and O's. If you're on TikTok, you missed the X's and O's. Go on YouTube. I'll post the clips tonight. Just type in Max Brown. We're doing a bunch of good stuff on YouTube. And if you're hanging out on these lives and you like this energy, I go live after every single game that I'm calling on Saturday. Yesterday I was in Chapel Hill calling North Carolina versus Richmond. Next week I'll be in Louisville calling Louisville versus Bowling Green. And then hopefully, and then from there, we'll get into conference play. I'll be calling ACC games. So always check out. I'll be live Saturday night. And then Friday night, I'm giving you guys my picks too. I go live in my hotel room If you're like, yo, I'm trying to beat my friends and give me some picks, Max. I'm watching all the games, the coaches tape. This year I'm 25 and 23, so not elite, but I'm still making you money. Last year I was 128 and 84. That is getting it done. That's 65%. That's getting it done. Uh, it'll be tough though this year. The SEC is going to be tough because a lot of these teams, man, are the SEC feels like the NFL this year in terms of how close these games could be. Hello, Kel says, who's winning the Auburn OU game? Ooh, baby. I mean, I love John Mateer. Give me OU. Thoughts on BC? I haven't seen enough of BC, to be honest. I haven't seen enough of BC. I don't want to just give you a fake take. Tyler Bowen, thank you. User 279-792-909220. Tyler Bowen, he's great. Thank you. YouTube, what do we got? I see some chats over there. It says Dabo has no Riz. Yep. Schools close to Virginia Tech, JMU, Liberty, William and Mary, UVA. UVA's got an offense this year, folks. UVA is going to sneak up on some ACC folks. The ACC could be interesting. It will be interesting. Appreciate that, AJ. Says Clemson needs to fire Dabo. They're not going to. And I think Kalen DeBoer has calmed the waters there. But that would be interesting. That would be interesting if Clemson peters off, Dabo went to Bama. That would be interesting. Yes, Jake, appreciate you. All right, good stuff. I got to pack up for the night. That was awesome. That was the most traction we've had all season, so I appreciate you guys. I got a YouTube video coming out this week, which is a fun one. Trust me, you might look at it. It's about how college football is the best reality TV show. Check it out. It's good stuff. It's a good YouTube video. It'll be coming up Tuesday at 8 a.m. And I'll see you on the next live, which will be Friday night, Monday, Tuesday. Fun fact, I'm part of the mock college football playoff selection committee this year. So I'm flying to Dallas tomorrow morning to take part in a mock CFP selection format in the hotel that they do it normally. It'll be me and 13 other people. So I guess DM me, hit me up if you have questions on like, yo, I've never really thought about how this works out. I'll get a first row seat of how it works. It's funny. I got to like study up on last year's teams because they like want you to have takes. But anyways, we'll see how it goes. Thanks everyone for hanging. Have a good night.